Guys, thank you very much for listening to the Photography Bar podcast. If you enjoy the show, please make sure to support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. And you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, as well as our Patreon, all of which will be linked in the show notes. Please leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast apps, such as Spotify and Apple Podcast. And with all that said, let's head to the bar. Hey, Mark, how are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you very much. Looking forward to the summer, though. Getting bored of this
Yeah, I
weather
know.
now.
I am. Do you know, actually, I was talking to my wife over the weekend. In fact, we've been talking about it since the beginning of the year, saying that we really want to go on holiday somewhere. We just want a bit of sunshine, bit of, bit of warm weather. And but there's nowhere that's really close by that's really hot, other than Spain had a bit of a heat wave, I think, last week. But it'd be nice to go and sit by a pool for a few days and not do anything and soak up the sun. But
Yeah.
anyway, Mark, I wanted to before we go off on what we want to do and summer holidays and everything. Patrons, okay, our Patreon channel is out there,
Yes.
and you know we've got people on there now. It's great. Amara Zainab, want to give a shout out to Nick Payne again, and Carl Sherville, who joined us in the last week,
Awesome.
10 days. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thank you so much for
Yes, thank you very
and
much.
enjoying it as well. Thanks for the feedback as well, which has been great. So Mark, I know you've got something that you want to chat about today, but one of the things I want to talk about on the show, and we'll come on to it. I want to talk about, I've got a list of what I think are the top 10 photos that changed the world.
Oh, wow. That's quite a thing. That's quite a thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And that's but we're going to come on to that.
Yeah, looking forward to discussing that. But first of all, I wanted to sort of discuss the story that I read. Not on my likely sort of research areas. Normally, I am, I go to all the the Petapixels and the F-stoppers of the world to find stories. But actually, this one was from a site called The Pit, which is a heavy metal channel that I kind of look at sometimes. And it was about I think it's worth to call a legendary. So legendary tattoo artist Kat Von D has been on trial for alleged copyright infringement over a Miles Davis tattoo. That's what I want to talk about. And it's kind of an odd one because I feel, because we talk about AI a lot, don't we? And about how is it right that someone can do this AI thing where it scours the internet, takes bits of pictures and makes it into another piece of art. And that could be my work involved in that, and I don't even know. So I feel like this kind of has sort of similarities to it. So just to go through it, and I'm going to be sort of quoting from the article that I read, but basically this happened in 2017. This is when it all started, and it was an internet. I think it was an Instagram post. I'm not sure if it's a reel or just a post, but it shows Kat Von D putting a tattoo on one of her friends. It wasn't even a customer either, so there was no money being involved. She's just doing this for a mate, of her doing this tattoo on her friend, basically taking, well, what she would say, inspiration from a photo that was taken by Jeffrey Sedlick. The photo was a 1989 portrait of Miles Davis. And you can see this picture in the background on a bit of paper. I know a lot of tattoo artists, they draw out things and stuff, but this was basically that photo. And you can see a kind of copying it or not copying it, but taking inspiration from it. And the photographer has gone, hang on a minute. This is my work. You're just basically copying my work onto it. And I first heard about this story. It was about, I think it was a week or so ago, and I have since heard that there has been a conclusion to all this, which I'll go into. But basically, the two parties are saying, so the photographer's basically saying, look, this is my photo. You're making money out of using my photo on this person's arm. Kat Von D responded by their claiming is, well, it's similar to the picture of your picture. It was just about inspiration rather than it being an actual copy. But also, because it was her friend, she wasn't making any money from it. Um, I think that last point is a bit ambiguous to me because you're putting it on an Instagram page, which would then creates you some sort of income. It'll either entice new clients to come to you, or people will want to download other things from it. So indirectly, it would have made her money, that post, I'm sure. Um, but with I think the main crux of it, and the reason why I want to discuss it is, do you think it is copyright, Cam? Do you think it is a copyright issue?
Um, well, that's something that has to be thought through here. My immediate,
Mm,
if I was to give an immediate answer, I mean, this is the sort of thing that you do really need to think it through. To me, I think, yeah, first of all, looking at the image where you've got Miles Davis holding up his finger to his lips, as in sort of,
yep.
as it says, going shh,
Yep.
actually reminds me of the classic. If anyone's familiar with it, it's a picture of Robert Johnson, the legendary blues
Mm,
musician. Okay, and it. I mean, I think there are only a couple of pictures, two or three pictures ever taken of Robert Johnson. And first of all, that's the first thing that I thought when I saw that picture. Oh, that reminds me of the classic Robert Johnson picture. Now,
mm.
the photographer that took that, I wonder if the photographer took, and I might be completely way off the line mark here, but I wonder if the photographer took any inspiration from that picture of Robert Johnson, because that was the first thing that I thought
That
that's what
you
it
thought
reminds me
of.
of, right?
I mean, a couple of
Uh,
things on that. I think there's always artistry. You're always going to be inspired by something else.
yeah,
There's also a fair amount of time difference between, I mean, the Robert Johnson portraits must have been taken, what, 1920s? Around that
1927, I
time?
think. I reckon it's probably 90.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely in the
yeah,
20s.
it
Yeah,
was around that time. Whereas
yeah.
I think this picture of Miles Davis, which was taken, I think, originally in 1989. So, it's not, I mean, I was alive when this portrait was taken, which is a bit of a difference between that one and the Robert Johnson
Well,
one. Um,
thing is,
but
right?
I think the thing that mainly spurred him on is that picture of her doing this tattoo with his picture in the background, and the two looking very, very, very much the same.
Well, they do look the same. Of course they do. But the thing
Yeah.
is what's stopping? I mean, let's talk about tattoos, for example. You know, um, you see people with band names, don't you, or tattooed.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
all it's all part of the branding. Okay, so
Yep.
why won't
Yep.
Guns N' Roses or something sue everyone that's got a Guns N' Roses tattoo? Okay, or the artist that designed the Guns N' Roses logo. Okay,
I think
or
it'd be more
you
the
know,
artist, wouldn't it?
right, the artist, right? So why is the artist that now? Probably, possibly, they might well say, well, actually, we bought the rights to the picture, but and that to me is similar. It's a piece of art. Okay, forget the fact that it's a
Mm.
photo, a drawing, an illustration, a painting, whatever it is. It's the same sort of thing. So anyone that's got a tattoo will probably be sued somewhere along the line. Okay, I see people with tattoos of footballers, right?
Yeah.
And their
That would have
club.
come from a picture somewhere.
What about the club logo? How many people
Mm.
out there have got tattoos of their favorite football team? Okay, there's millions of people out there that have got their tattoos. So
I
then
guess it
surely
depends
what?
on the process of the tattoo artist. I mean, my studio, there's a tattoo artist next door to my studio, and I know what he does. He draws the stuff out first
Hmm,
before
yeah,
then doing it as an actual piece of art. Whereas this looks like it's just been printed out from a printer and it's just been blankly copied. I don't know.
I think there's also part of me that says here that, look, take it as a compliment. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, this photographer here, it's obviously who did it. He's probably had a very successful career. And I'm just assuming here, all right,
yeah,
and take it as a compliment. I mean, that Miles Davis picture has probably been copied thousands of times over the years,
yeah.
right, by somebody, whether it's students who are doing it. I'm sure
Mm,
that there are musicians out there that have copied that style for their own album cover. He's just not been
yeah,
aware of it. Take it, to me,
yeah.
take it as a compliment, and you know, if anything, it's going to help sell a few more Miles Davis albums, right? You know,
Yeah, but
uh,
that's not going to help the photographer, is it?
no, exactly. It's not going to help the photographer. So, should it be Miles Davis's, record company, or whoever owns the Miles Davis, the whole sort of his
Yeah,
his collection, such
the back
that
catalogue
should
kind
be
of thing.
the catalog. That's the word I'm
Mm.
looking for. So it's too vague.
Yeah.
I have to say I'm glad it went the right way. I'm glad that it
Well,
didn't.
I'm just
So I'm
gonna
glad it didn't say it. You know.
yeah. So apparently, yeah, I'll come. So basically, the jurors in the case, I think it took them about 2 hours to come to a verdict. So the eight jurors, I'm now quoting from Petapixel because I saw the conclusion on Petapixel. I think it's Petapixel. And basically, the eight jurors decided that Vondi's tattoo, well as her planning sketch and four related social media posts, were not substantially similar to Sedgwick's copyrighted portrait of jazz legend Miles Davis at the center of the trial, and therefore did not violate copyright law. Following the 4-day trial, the jury also found that three other social media posts made to Vondi's personal and business accounts that also referenced the photo qualified as fair use. Bear in mind, though, fair use is different, I think, in the UK than it is in the US. So I think there
Yeah.
is a bit of difference there. I don't know what all the differences are. So basically, Kat Von D's lawyer is basically saying this should never have gone to court. They're basically saying this is a waste of time. It's ridiculous. However, Sedgwick's lawyer apparently they're going to appeal the verdict, so it's not finished.
Mm.
So, but I guess also we're talking about. I mean, we're talking about a photo being penned in to a different medium. So, you know, as in a tattoo. How do you feel about this compared to? Because I made the sort of the comparison to what's going on with with the AI stuff that kind of can take your picture off your website and turn it into something else without you even knowing.
The thing is I've always said that stuff is copied and regurgitated and used as influence. It's been like that since, well, forever and a day, really.
Mm.
Nothing is really original.
Yeah,
Everything,
I get that.
every
I,
yeah,
I
everything is a mishmash of different ideas that were put together and that came together, somewhere along the line, and people developed their own ideas, but they've all come from somewhere, haven't they? you know
yeah, but yeah, I
that's
guess. But this is, let's say, let's say a young up and coming photographer did something with the AI program that takes all the images. I forget what it's called now. Um, made puts together this great big piece, and it sells for £2 million in Sotheby's or something, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
part of that image is actually your work. Let's say
right,
it's
yeah,
one of your wedding clients that you've posted on your website.
yeah,
Let's say it's a picture of a bride, and they've taken the face.
yeah.
And this person has now gotten £2 million, and you get nothing. Your client gets nothing, but it is your work. How do you feel about that?
Huh. The whole thing is just too vague. It's
Yeah,
too, I don't know how precious
I
can
mean,
you
it's a
how
convoluted example. I give you
how
that.
precious can you get with it, though? That's the thing. How precious do you want to get with your own
But
work? I don't know. It's
it's about
somebody
people making
copy.
money off your work, I guess.
Yeah, it is, but like I said, people have been doing it forever and a day. I mean, you hear it with songs and chord structures and notes that have been copied. You hear it all the time. Oh, that
Yeah,
sounds
and Ed
like such
Sheeran's
and
gone to
such.
court several times because of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So that is a thing, and I think he's been quite lucky in some cases, to be honest with you, because some of those like, that is pretty close, to be fair.
yeah.
Um,
That's right. Yeah,
but 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 this is not that. This is not. This is very different to someone does a chord pattern, a very progressive chord pattern. Let's say it's a G to a D to an E, right? Which
yeah,
is the most basic chords
yeah,
and structures of song. That is very different to two people using that chord structure for different songs to
yeah,
your actual work. The pixels have been taken from your website without your knowledge, and someone's made a bomb out of it,
yeah.
as in money, and you're getting nothing. Do you not feel that? Hang on a minute. this is wrong.
I do. Well, yes, it is. But the thing is how far do you how far do you take that? Well, you've copied my photo,
Mm,
you've copied my bit of music,
mm.
and you
Yeah,
know,
but the music is different because we're not talking. I'm not talking about sampling. I mean, there
no,
was a big
yeah,
hoo-ha with Vanilla. I mean, really long time ago with Vanilla Ice and Queen, wasn't there?
of course. I
You
mean,
know,
that's been going. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, there's loads of
yeah.
stuff that's going. Yeah,
But new laws came out after because of that, I think.
yeah,
Because quite frankly, it
yeah,
was it was a
yeah.
rip-off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Um,
that was blatant. But then again, saying that, you also got to look at how much money that was generating, and that's generating a hell of a lot more than tattoos for a tattoo artist. So why
yeah,
don't you?
but not for
So
Queen.
no, not for
It
Queen,
didn't
but
generate any
what
money for
I'm
Queen.
no, it didn't. But the thing is, for Vanilla Ice, right? I mean, he was generating a lot of money out of it. Whereas for a
Yeah,
tattoo
yeah,
artist, you're talking not a lot of money. It's
yeah.
not,
No,
yeah,
I get
you
that.
know,
Although I will just caveat that with Kat Von D is not any tattoo artist. She is like one of
yeah,
the tattoo artists to go to.
yeah, of course.
And
But yeah, I mean, it's one of these
but
things
going
that
back
a
to
group of people
yeah,
are having a conversation, and there's no way,
mm,
someone is there and say, no one's going to copy my work. I'd have them
yeah,
right over it. Whereas I'm sort of, I don't know, what can do you want to do
yeah,
something? Do you feel that strongly that you're going to do something about it? I mean, if somebody used a photo that I took, or they blatantly copied it and it went on to the front cover of an album, and that album sold millions of copies, then yes, then I would say
yeah,
I want something for that. Whereas if some local tattoo artist used it, I would sort of say, hey, that's great. I may actually sort of say it'd be nice to get a credit for it, but I wouldn't
yeah,
say any more than that. But did she
yeah.
credit it? I don't know.
I don't think she
She
did.
could have
No.
actually, she could have killed it straight away by saying that I've taken. I mean, she may well have done. I've taken this. It's an inspiration from photographer such and such. Oh, of this particular album cover and whatever, and
Yeah,
and
I
and
don't
I've
know
put
if
this
she did that
tattoo
or
on.
not.
I don't know if she did. So maybe some acknowledgement would be good if you know
Mm,
you're blatantly
yeah,
ripping it off. Yeah, acknowledge that person.
mm,
That's acknowledge that bit of work, and
mm,
I think it's one way possibly to sort of
yeah.
soften it a little bit, unless
I mean, I
somebody
guess
who's really
my. Oh, carry on.
no, I was going to unless some people. I'm not saying about this instance here, but some people are very financially greedy, aren't they? And they want
Yeah,
their bit of something, don't they?
yeah.
Regardless of how it's going to affect somebody else. I mean, it's
I mean,
to me.
I was just going to say, for me, I think it's. I don't think they should have gone to court. Really, I think on the swing of things, yes, it was inspiration. Yes, it was. I guess the actual tattoo wasn't the problem. I think more the post for me was the problem. Um, I haven't checked the actual post. Maybe she said, "Yes, I'm doing this from this picture by Jeffrey Slick," and I think that probably would have been all right. The actual
Yeah,
tattoo, it's different because it's a different art form. It's not a complete copy. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's like a painting, isn't it? It's a very different form of media. You're not just using what's been done and just regurgitating it because you're doing it. I think there is a difference. However, I still think I was trying to compare it to the AI stuff, and I don't think you really answered on the whole Sotheby's example I gave, which is, it's far fetched and vague. I get
mm,
that, but I think you kind of did if you said, well, if that gets put on an album and it sells millions, I'd have an issue with it. I would
mm,
too.
yeah,
I think if someone made £2 million out of a picture sale in Sotheby's, when some of it is actually my work, which I spent hours editing, photographing, I would have an issue with that as well. I
yeah.
would
So you got to put
want,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
would
it's a
want that.
level of
However,
where you take it,
well, it's a level. It's what it
where
is.
it's
It's
used.
if it's pixel for pix. No, not necessarily that. I think for me, if it's pixel for pixel copied from my website,
Mm,
if they've lifted the work from my website, put it onto their work, they haven't. And yes, they might have done other stuff to it. Unless I've agreed to that, and I'm not talking about stock images here. If I put this image on a stock image. And
mm,
I've got my money from that. That's a different matter. I'm talking about someone who has used the program, taken the imagery off my website without my knowledge, consent, or any of that, and has made money out of it. I have an issue with it. If someone is doing it as a tattoo, I don't have an issue with it. Yes, they're copying my picture maybe from the screen, but it's their talents. I couldn't copy that Miles Davis picture as an art. That's their skill as an artist, as a tattoo artist, and there's a difference there. Whereas someone just blatantly lifting my work and putting it onto theirs, not happy with that.
Yeah,
That's my take
subject.
anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a subject that I think that everyone's really got an opinion about, haven't they? But there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mark,
Yeah.
let's grab a drink.
Yes.
Okay, Mark. Top 10 photos that changed the world. Now,
Go on then.
right. Okay. Now we all know. We're all familiar with a lot of photos in history that have, that have been taken from something, whether it's an iconic, let's just take going back World War II or something. There's loads of iconic pictures that everyone has come across at some point. They might not know
Yeah.
where it was taken or why and all that, but they know that they've seen that photo somewhere before. I mean, there's a classic photo which is, I think, it's generally called the Afghan Girl, taken by photographer Steve Curry. Very, very famous photo
Yes.
of
He actually retook it. He retook that photo with her as an older lady.
Oh, did he? Right. Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah.
And it was obviously her eyes, the way that she was it was everything about, her life, the way she was looking into the camera and her eyes. But so many people have seen that picture. Okay, but
Yeah.
was it a photo that necessarily changed the world? Now the reason why I brought this up, I was watching something on the History Channel going back a few days ago, and I'm just going to quote from it because I looked it up online because I thought this is interesting because when they were going through a lot of the pictures, there was some pictures I hadn't seen and some that was so obviously should be there, but there was some pictures I thought, oh, I'm surprised I haven't got this or that picture there, but I'm just going to read from just a paragraph from the history website. And it says, history and photography have always been fickle bedfellows, and predicting what photos will ingrain themselves into the rich tapestry of world history can be tough. Some photos are conceived with long lasting recognition in mind, while others find themselves slowly climbing to the top as historical values and are analyzed as modern attitudes change. And so when we look at, as the world changes and we see now what goes on, I always say that every generation pushes the boundaries. Everything is taken further than the previous generation. But photos, and particularly when they're in black and white, there's something about them that have this powerful thing that, regardless of almost when it was taken, it just has something that's incredibly powerful. Now, I'm not going to talk about any of the images in detail. I'm just going to give a brief description. We're not doing this on video, although as people have been listening to the podcast, we will be video soon.
Yeah.
So let's take one photo, for example. Okay. The moon landing. Okay. Was it 1968, 1969? 1969.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not talking about one picture in particular, but we're talking about a photo of, man on the moon for the first time. That's iconic. That did change the world, didn't it? If you believe it happened, Mark.
I was just going to ask, do you believe those photographs actually came from the moon? I'm not so sure myself. I'm not. I think we went to the moon. Don't get me wrong. I think we went. I'm just not convinced the photos came from the moon. Just looking at the shadowing and looking at the lighting and certain things that happened, and I completely get it. They had to show Russia that they got there first. I get why they would fake it, and I don't think that means they didn't do it. But I think I don't know. Maybe the picture of him going down the ladder was real, but that was more the video, wasn't it? And one small step for man and all that. But
yeah,
I don't know.
So,
there's some suspect stuff there.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I've always thought there's been lots of theories about that. But the way I see that, I've had my doubts about it more so recently because very recently, is it Japan have sent something to the moon and they lost contact. It was low on battery power. And I think in recent days it was charged back up again. They managed to do that. India successfully sent something to the south. And I think the only countries that have successfully had successful moon missions are the US, Russia, China, India, and now Japan.
Mm.
But in more so recent times, they've not been without their problems at all. And it's not as
Mm.
easy. I thought just going to the moon was fairly easy, really, but it's not. So
It's
yeah,
not. No.
there could be a doubt. But let's just take for a moment that these photos are real, because
Yeah.
again, there's another reason why you mentioned it. We could take any of these photos; they might not be real. They may have been set up by photographers anyway. There's a lot of war
Yeah.
photos that have been set up by photographers that
Yeah.
have been proved to be, some of the
Yeah.
Magnum photographers, some of those photographers who said were these photos actually real? So another photo that changed. So we're talking about the man on the moon photos. Okay, another photo that changed the course of history was the view from the window at Le Gras by Niels for Niepce. Okay, and this was the world's first photo that was taken. And it says the first entry on our list is naturally the oldest surviving photo ever taken, the one from the rooftops that was actually taken. And that is, and that to me is a picture that did change the course of history. Really, that was the first. And after that photo, it's generated everything else now that we've seen. So that one
Mm.
definitely is. We're not talking about anything that's particularly hard hitting. We're just talking about, that as being the very first photo. Okay, so there's one. Okay, number three, and these are in no particular order. The Hiroshima bomb. Okay, we all know that
Mhm.
mushroom cloud. We've seen that.
Yeah.
That changed the course of history. I mean, the way that photo has been taken, it's an amazing photo just in itself. It is an incredibly powerful photo. Anybody can look at that and be struck by it, because they all know what's gone on there, even if they don't know anything
Yeah.
about history. They'll know that they'll know that there was something terrible has happened there.
Mm.
So again, yeah, again, a classic, and another classic photo there. Okay, and then we come on to, you see, there's a lot of war images, a lot of very harrowing images. You very rarely see very happy photos. Everything provokes a
Well, I guess
real.
a lot of these pictures kind of give you a call to action, don't they? And happy pictures don't tend to do that.
That's just it. That they say that without protest there would be no change.
Mm.
And this is, and I guess it's true of a photo as well. The next one that I'm going to refer to is the photo of the airship, and the
Oh,
Hindenburg
the
disaster.
Hindenburg.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm.
Yeah, and it says the passenger airship was traveling from Frankfurt, Germany, to New Jersey in the US, and when it right before landing, and the disaster doomed the Zeppelin industry, with Sam Shear's photo becoming closely associated with the airships. Again, a very, very famous picture.
Mm.
And again, another photo where you don't need to know anything about it, but you know that
Mm.
was a disaster. You know that there was a disaster on a huge scale. And again, the angle that it was taken from, we're talking photographically here, everything about that photo just sort of screams dynamic, doesn't it? It just tells you
Mhm.
everything. And then we come on to some of the war photos, and there's another one called Raising the Flag on Iwo Jima. It says one of the most iconic photos of World War II, raising the flag on, I might not pronounce it right, Iwo Jima, by photographer Joe Rosenthal, has been engraved nationwide into the minds of Americans as a symbol of victory and patriotism. And I remember when the 9/11 attack happened, and they tried to
Mm.
recreate something quite similar to that. And again, that was a very iconic photo. And then that goes
Mm.
on to the next one, the photos that were taken from the 9/11
Yeah, I
disasters
mean,
as well.
I think I've still got like a newspaper clipping. Um, Right, well, the day after, because obviously that's when all the news headlines were, papers were just full of all of this. So I don't know where it is. I've got it somewhere, because I felt it was just such a, well, it was a massive, massive thing, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
it's not one of those incident. It's not something that happens. When you say once in a lifetime, you think it's an amazing thing, and it's obviously not. But it is an event that doesn't happen very often. Um, and I lived through it, and I saw it, and also we all lived through the aftermath of it as well. Um, so
yeah.
yeah, it was. I mean, it was such a. It was. Oh, I'm trying to find words that aren't insulting, because I don't want to be insulting about it. But it was a spectacle. This was like something out of a movie, flying planes into a building on purpose.
Mm. Yeah.
It's
And
so
yeah,
fantastical
yeah. And the
and
other one that comes
horrific at the same time.
and the other one that comes is another 9/11 photo, and basically it's the falling man, the guy that jumps
Yeah.
out of the building, and
Oh, there's
basically you
loads of them
just
did that.
oh no, you just see this guy just going head down, and shot by Richard Drew. Says Richard Drew's image shows a man falling from the World Trade Center's Twin Towers shortly after the building was struck by a hijacked airliner. Drew's picture represents us with a single momentary detail of one man's tragedy as he plunges to his death.
Yeah.
And it's shocking just looking at it because it portrays all sorts of emotions, and it relates very well to my next picture as well, because that picture was, as every picture, is caught in a moment, but that particular picture where he's jumped from the building and he's just going head down first, and that was caught in the moment. And the next one is not so, it's got nothing to do with war, nothing harrowing at all, but it coined something in photography, and that was the decisive moment by Henri Cartier-Bresson.
Oh,
And
I know
he
the
coined
one.
that phrase, the man jumping over the puddle.
So
And
yeah, there's loads of things because the clock face behind them is doing the same action as the legs. And I
yeah,
think there's
that's
a
right.
poster behind them. There's also doing the same movement with the legs as well, or something like that. So
Yeah.
it all kind of works together, which is yeah, really cool.
Yeah, that's right. And he coined that phrase. I was saying that, the decisive moment, the photo that was taken at that
Mm,
moment in time. So we're sort of jumping into
mm,
slightly different things here. But then we go back
mm.
again to something that's sort of quite war. Another one on the list is the Tank Man, shot in 1989. So if I said the
Uh,
Tank Man, would that
is that Tiananmen Square?
it is, yeah. Okay. Jeff Widener's
Yeah.
image of a lone Chinese civilian blocking an advanced column of tanks in Beijing
Mm.
perfectly symbolizes courage, defiance, and the injustice of repressive authoritarianism. I was on holiday at the time. I think I was somewhere in Spain when that was all going on. I
Yeah.
do remember that as it was actually happening. And that image
I
has
don't really remember it. I mean, was it 1989? Did you say it was?
yeah, I think it
Yes,
was,
I
did I say
was.
1989?
Yes, I
And
was either 8 or 9 years old.
yeah, and I remember when that was going on, and not again wanting to talk about, but you can't avoid it really. The Napalm Girl, the photo of the children running down the street, with the,
Oh,
the look of horror on their faces.
yeah.
And it says, arguably, Vietnam was the first war where the power of photojournalism came to the fore. The
Mm,
Second World War had been extensively photographed, but the immediacy of the coverage in Vietnam and the volume of images published transformed Vietnam into a war that played out into the full glare of the public eye. And that was a thing. Now you see, we see things immediately, don't we? We see things on news channels. We see things live as they're actually happening. We
mm.
see photojournalists on the front line, live on CNN, BBC, or whatever. And and that will only become more and more. So I wonder if we're becoming desensitized to images that we see now. I don't know if we are, but when you see these images in black and white, there's something about them.
No, I'm not sure if it's the fact that they're in black and white. I think we're so oversaturated now with pictures. Everyone's got a smartphone, everyone's got a camera, like you said, the 24-hour news cycles, all that kind of stuff. It's not so much it was black and white, it was just it wasn't it was more of a thing. Do you know what I mean? It didn't have. I mean, like you said, Second World War. uh, Second World War kind of started it, I guess. We don't have
Mm,
many pictures of the First World War,
yeah,
or anything that happened
no,
before then. So, but you're right. The Vietnam War is obviously the iconic moment when it comes to photography and war photography, I'd say,
mm,
because they're the ones that you think of straight away. Mainly because there was more of them.
yes,
Um, a-
yeah,
and
yeah,
but
yeah. There is that as
nowadays
well.
there are so many. I mean, when you see if something terrible happens, well, we obviously we spoke about Gaza a couple of episodes ago, I think it was, and you see a lot of footage now, which is just from mobile phones. You don't need to have journalists on the ground anymore. The civilians will
Mm,
just upload it with their mobile phones,
mm,
um, and it's everywhere. Is so
yeah,
maybe that's
yeah,
why pictures these days are less iconic. I don't know.
yeah. Well, we'll see with time, won't we? Next one that's on the list
Mm.
is the Black Power salute at the
Oh, the
1968 Mexico
Olympics.
Olympics. That's right. Yeah, gold
Mm,
medal winner Tommy Smith and bronze medal winner John Carlos raise a black power salute at the 1968 Mexico Olympics. It's a grainy image, again black and white. It's a hugely powerful image, and again, it's a photo that
yeah.
did change the world. It did. It has, people are familiar with it. People have.
It took a while.
Um, it took a while, but people know it. People know that it still means
Yeah.
something to this day. And now we obviously have
Mm.
the kneel, don't we? The one knee. I know that
Yeah,
they
is that
still do.
still happening now? Is that
I think
still
a lot
happening
of
in the Premier
Premier. I
League?
think a lot of Premier League grounds are still doing it. I think that's one of the things that they're doing, and it's come from that. Essentially, it comes from that. Next one. I'm not going to talk about a picture in general, but the celebration in London and on D-Day. Okay, when the war was over,
Oh
that
yeah.
was hugely iconic. Those moments, and that
Mm.
was a you can say that that was a happy time. We know what
Yeah, I
everything
mean
went on before that, but it's regarded as
still
a
desperate
time.
times though.
Exactly, but it was a time of it was celebration, and well, actually, I don't like to use that word. Let's say it was a moment of relief, shall we say?
Mm,
Uh, I think
I
that's
think so.
probably yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now, a couple more because there are so many. I've even lost count. And I said it was the top 10 pictures. But the photo, I'm not going to bring in John F. Kennedy's when John F. Kennedy was shot in 1963 because look, we know it's iconic, we know it changed things, but there is something that relates to that, and it's at John F. Kennedy's funeral. When it's John F. Kennedy Jr. salutes his father at JFK State Funeral, and it's this little boy just saluting,
Mm.
surrounded by everyone dressed in black. And I think it's is it Bobby Kennedy that's just behind him. Again, another truly iconic image that stood the test of time. And is still a very very powerful one. And one last one I'm going to come on to. Uh, I was trying to find, and well, I guess we've already done it. It was a sport one, and I guess it was that Black Power salute. Well, let's take
Mm.
that as that's. Here's another one. Okay, it's my last one. It's a color image. This one, and it's the one where Obama, Clinton, and Biden watched live footage of Navy SEALs storming Osama bin Laden's compound in May 2011, and they're all sitting there watching
As in
what's
Hillary
actually
Clinton,
happening.
by the way. You
Right.
got
What
me
did I
confused
what
there.
what did I say?
You
Did I
just
say?
said you may have just said Clinton, but I suddenly thought Bill Clinton
It's
wasn't
Hillary
there.
Clinton. Yeah,
It's
it's
Hillary
Hillary.
Clinton.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton is there, and they're all sitting watching the screen of what was actually
Yeah,
happening live when Osama bin Laden was taken down.
yeah.
And that was in 2011. And they're all just sitting watching the screen there. They've got their cups of coffee, their laptops out there, and so again, I think of those are pictures that changed the world. So, but everyone's got
I
their own.
think yeah, they do, they do. I mean, I'd probably add a couple of my own as well. I think when people say change the world, and I understand why you pick the pictures that you have, because obviously they were quite serious topics
Mm,
in what they are. I mean, I remember a picture that I'm sure changed a lot of people's minds was when Demi Moore posed basically naked. I forgot what magazine it was. It might have been Time magazine. She was pregnant,
pregnant,
but
yeah.
she had a body painter paint a suit on her. So you couldn't tell she was naked, but she was actually naked. Um, and that was a very liberating picture, I felt, for pregnant women around the world. And I thought that was quite an opener. And of course, the Nirvana baby. I think that signifies a lot of change, maybe in the music industry, I guess, but also about a certain type of people who who Nirvana represented. Do you know what I mean? So there were people that, not necessarily the jocks. There were the nerds of the school, maybe the less popular kids at school. They had a voice, and that
Mm.
Nirvana baby picture for me kind of almost signifies that. So there's a couple that I'd like to throw in. Also, there's the Rage Against. I'm going album
Wait,
covers. There's
we're
the
going to come
the
on to
Rage
album
Against the
covers.
Machine
Another
one.
one, and I'm going to stop you
Yeah,
there
yeah.
because that's
So
coming. That's coming. Top 10 album covers,
that's coming.
photographic.
Well,
Let's say
but I want to
photographic
mention
album.
this one because it is a photographic cover, and
Mm.
it's similar to some of the ones that you went to. It's a serious one. It's when the monk set fire to himself.
Yeah.
Um, And that's on the Rage Against the Machine first album.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think there, there are lots of pictures that have changed. Susie smoking, that's a great fashion picture as well, by
yeah.
Nick Knight. There's quite a few there as well. But yeah, it's just yeah. Maybe we
Goes to
should
show
do a
the
top 10 not domestic, non-war photos
yeah, yeah.
that
And
changed the
so,
world. Maybe
you know what I was
we should
saying?
look into that.
I was looking for something happy. I was looking for something
Yeah,
that's, that were good events, because there's a yin and a yang, isn't there? There's a balance in this world, and
yeah,
we have to do that. Why not?
yeah.
We'll do one top 10 greatest happy moments in life. Iconic photos or something
Yeah.
like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
You know,
Well, it's yeah, absolutely.
that
So,
portray
so
that
yeah.
portray that emotion. But yeah, always interesting, these top 10 lists, because it
Mm,
provokes something like this. Music is a classic thing. Top 10 artists of all time, or top 10
mm,
photographers. Is always going to provoke a reaction, regardless. I spoke about specific events, I suppose, but within those, we know that there were very many iconic photos. Good stuff, Mark.
mm.
Good to go through those. Now, Mark, I'm just going to finish off on one thing, and
Yep.
that is the up and coming photography and video show that we've
Yes,
got. And we had Hazel Soper, one of the organisers of the
we
show,
did.
on
Well,
here a
that
couple of
head
episodes ago.
head honcho organizer, I think.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah. Now, very kindly, the photography show have given us a discount that we can pass on to our listeners. A discount to the
Whoop,
show,
whoop.
where you can get 20% off entry and the tickets into the show. We're going to put the links.
Hey.
We're going to put that link down. So we're really pleased that they've given us that we can pass on.
Yep.
Now that does expire on the 14th of March, so there's plenty of time. But
Plenty
please
of
make
time.
sure that you get your tickets. It is
And we are
the
going to
event.
remind you. Yeah, we'll remind you
Yeah,
every week. Don't worry.
exactly. It is the event to attend if you're professional, if you're a hobbyist, you just want to get into photography, you're a student just learning, get along to there at the photography show in March.
Excellent
Okay.
stuff. Alrighty. Well, I just want to say thanks to you guys for listening to us waffle on about stuff. I hope you find it entertaining, enjoyable, maybe a bit educational. I don't know. But yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you again on the next one. Bye for now.
Cheers, guys.